Right now, but they are saying it could be comparable to Hurricane Matthew, which was about $300 million worth of damage. Kind of see that pools of water have collected here in the back of the church. And also, if you take a look to the left over here, these corn crops are all kind of leaning in the same direction. I'm going to step behind the screen here because you can't see much of the scene from where I'm standing, but if I zoom in here, you can kind of see a little bit more of it behind me, of course. They kind of kept us at bay here on Coventry Drive. Governor McMaster made it very clear that he doesn't want another cent coming out of power customers' pockets. You can see exactly where Sandy Run is on the map.
In the middle of the totality. So
those are some of the images that he captured. You definitely made me have a good time out here just showing me your pictures. The temperature out here is really not that much different than when you walk through her doors. In fact, there is a continual draft that we're hoping to see and hear from Democratic candidate James Smith and his running mate for Lieutenant Governor. As we speak, hello there, sir. How you doing? I like your getup. Here is one of the supporters here.
I'm feeling the best I've ever felt.
You feel the best you've ever felt. How do you feel about the race tonight? People are certainly out here taking full advantage of all the fun the South Carolina State Fair has to offer. I mean, I'm smelling the hot dogs and the food over here. You've got the games over here and, of course, the rides. And then we get to the back of this home trying to knock on the back door and talk to the residents, and this is what we see. A couple facts from the American Red Cross. Every 2 seconds, somebody in the U.S. needs blood. However, right behind me, they have a few issues on the table, and they're saying they want to get it as close to the governor's awareness as possible. And the usefulness of this tool doesn't stop there. In case you're ever in an emergency and you can't vocalize that for some reason, you can head down here to Tools and then up to Whistle, where it'll play this sound. It'll alert everyone around you that you need help.
Let's see what we're going to get, okay? Go, baby, go.
Mom and Grandma look on at 8-month-old Haley, a week into swim lessons.
Deep breath, Grandma. This part's hard.
Carol McCall is a little uneasy, but this isn't new for this family. In fact, she put her own daughter, Audrey, in a similar program as a child.
About 2, maybe just a little bit under 2, but yes, we started early.
It's okay, Mom. It's okay, Grandma.
Like mother, like daughter.
So I'm not going to lie, it's hard. I've seen 5-year-olds fall in pools and people dive in because they don't know how to swim, and I've seen 10-year-olds fall in pools and people dive in because they don't know how to swim, and I refuse to let that be my child. I told you, it's hard to watch.
And the parents that are actually out here today are doing remarkably well with this, but they say they weren't always that way, especially in the beginning when they have to kind of get over that maternal instinct to reach out for their child when they start crying.
I start by teaching them where their air is. It's critical thinking. So I teach putting a child face down in the water and rolling them into a float so they know that's where my air is. Or I teach a child how to get to the side. That's where my air is.
Shannon O'Lear with Little Loggerhead Swim School in Columbia says that's not natural to babies. She teaches these classes 4 days a week each.
Most parents and children coming in, it's the unknown. So parents are very anxious about their children crying in lessons. But what I tell parents is a crying child is a breathing child.
So good!
Haley has found her air pretty well. And O'Lear says her goal is for all other babies to do the same.
I want you to ask yourself, what would it be like if you never heard that child cry again? Or how much is a pediatric funeral? And that puts it all into perspective.
Advice and lessons that could save a life. In Lexington, Sharonne Hayes, Watch Fox News.
I'm born in Mexico, but I've been raised in South Carolina my entire life. It pretty much just means that everything I've worked for and built for will be shattered.
Maria Garcia is a student at USC. She and her husband are business owners in West Columbia.
I have to go back to Mexico. Pretty much my whole life changes. Everything I've known is here. My education has been here.
No wall!
when I turned 15, I wanted to get my permit. And I didn't know, I asked my stepmom if I could go get my permit. And that's when she told me, I was undocumented.
Oswaldo Tapia has lived in Newberry since he was 4 and remembers how the passing of DACA changed his life.
I was excited. I did all the paperwork and everything, and I finally had a job. Finally had my driver's license.
Oswaldo and Maria are just two stories of what DACA legislation means for immigrants who came to the U.S. as children. On Tuesday, they rallied at the State House urging lawmakers in Washington to extend protections for recipients before they're forced to return to their native countries. The White House recently issued a framework for immigration reform. President Trump wants Congress to produce legislation based on the plan, calling for a border wall, an end to chain migration, and a visa lottery. Still, DACA supporters say something has to be done.
It's hard times, but I got to support myself and other DACA recipients, not just DACA recipients, TPS and all the undocumented. Yes, ma'am. And I'm still going to be fighting for them and for myself.
Sunday's storm was felt all across the Midlands as the rain and the winds continued throughout the day. Downed trees shut down several roads, causing major detours. Flooding on I-20 created hazards. While some of the damage was minor,
I'm trying to get home and there's only one way in and out, so some people have parked their car over there.
some damage will be felt for days.
Hurry up, I'm getting my babies, and my mom and my dad was trying to go to one side of the house, and the windows busted on that side of the house, so we go to the other side of the house.
Alana Adams says the tornado that touched down in Gilbert was the first she's ever experienced.
We feel the house getting picked up by the tornado, and all of a sudden it just got quiet and the house just dropped.
They called me and told me about it, and I come home, clean up this mess before it gets scattered off worse than it is.
Adam's neighbor, Glenn Geringer, was out helping to contain the wreckage, along with the debris from a farm across the street.
Yeah, the aftermath of a tornado that tore up about 13 chicken houses, I guess.
Residents now planning to pick up the pieces within the next few days.
Nobody's been hurt. My children, that's my main concern. They're perfectly fine. My son's still scared, but he'll be all right.
We could use a hand.
Okay.
Come on out and help us clean up.